If you're not making a difference in other people's lives, you're probably not doing what you should be doing. 3 times a chance to die in one night, the odds are against you.
As I always say about Coach Taft, the same person you see in an interview on television, leading the American Football Coaches Association, anything he's doing, he's that same person everywhere.
There's a lot of ways you could phrase what you want to try to do, but I simply say this: I want to make a difference.
Grant Taft was born on November 12, 1933 in Snyder, Texas.
I was very blessed to grow up in a family that taught me values, not only through their words, but through the way they lived their lives. They also taught me a great work ethic.
Grant Taft played football, basketball, and track at Snyder High School and graduated in 1951 as first team All-District in football.
I decided that I wanted to be like my high school coaches. I wanted to coach, and I wanted to coach football. The reason is that my coaches had a very strong impact on me because they taught me how to take what I had, the tools that I had, which honestly weren't very much, and to apply the mental capacity that I had, to join those two together to achieve anything my heart's desired.
He went to San Angelo Junior College and McMurray College. He played football and was captain at both. He graduated in 1956. In the same year, Taft became the assistant coach at Lubbock High School. It was a great chance for Taft to start his career.
Taft became the assistant coach at McMurray from 1957 to 1959 and became the head coach in 1960 to 1965. Grant was then the youngest college football head coach at age 26. His record was 23, 35, and 2.
Grant Taft then became the assistant coach at Texas Tech University and coached tight ends and receivers. He coached at Tech from 1966 to 1968.
San Angelo Junior College became Angelo State University and welcomed Grant Taft as their head coach from 1969 to 1971. He was 1911 at Angelo State University. Taft held this position while he waited for an opening as Texas Tech's head coach, but things changed.
According to Taft, when he was 15 years old, he deduced that coaching in the Southwest Conference had to be the highest level of coaching, and that is where he wanted to be.
At the time, the Southwest Conference was the premier athletic conference in America. It featured 8 teams: Baylor, Texas Tech, Texas, Texas A&M, SMU, Rice, TCU, and Arkansas.
Baylor, at the time, was struggling. In 5 years, their record was 7-43. Baylor was about to drop out of Division I football.
Jack Patterson, an old friend who was then the athletic director at Baylor, asked Taft to be the head coach to try to make them Division I material, but Taft declined.
Why would anybody want the Baylor job, much less me, who had greater ambitions? But compelled I was when I got here. So after visiting with him for about 2 or 3 hours, and remember, I never saw any facilities, which was a mistake, by the way. They were terrible. I said, I'll do it. I'll come to Baylor. I'll turn your program around.
In Taft's first 2 seasons, he went 5-6 and 2-9, which even with a losing record was a huge improvement, and Taft was just getting started.
So we had all the freshmen, probably 20, 30 of us. He brings us all in this room, and he begins to tell us what the next couple of weeks is going to look like. So, I mean, this is my first time on the college campus, first college practice. I didn't really know what to expect. And, you know, I was a pretty decent high school athlete, so I felt confident about myself. But he comes in and he looks us straight in the face and he says, "You're going to work harder than you ever have in your life." And the way he said it, it kind of scared me. I was like, wow, man, maybe I'm not certain about what I just got myself into. I don't know if I can handle this. He was just very serious about it. But then he transitioned from that statement, and then he began to give us this talk about goal setting. And he says, he talked about how you can take something very big and very challenging, something that's far beyond what you think you can accomplish, and if you break it into small sized chunks, so you do one thing every month, one thing every week, one thing every day that gets you toward your goal. And as he talked about that, my fear of the hard work kind of dissipated. It's kind of like, oh, well, okay, I see how I can do this. So he made that very realistic to me. He took something that was very challenging, made it very doable, and I've been setting goals ever since then.
In 1974, the Baylor Bears beat Texas in the Miracle on the Brazos.
The huge victory over Texas is still considered the miracle of the Brazos. Do you consider it a miracle?
Absolutely not. The word miracle irritates me a lot. It's not as bad as it used to, because it was not a miracle. It was done the old-fashioned way, with hard work, strong commitment, a great plan, and most importantly, the belief that we could do it.
The Bears went 8-3 and won the Southwest Conference.
Taft was the AFCA Coach of the Year. They played Penn State and Joe Paterno in the Cotton Bowl Classic, but the Bears lost 41-20. It was the first bowl game for the Bears in 11 years.
In 1979, the Bears won the Southwest Conference again and went on to beat the Clemson Tigers in the Peach Bowl.
Then, in the 1980-81 season, the Bears faced Alabama in the Cotton Bowl, where they lost 30-2. Even after what could be considered a humiliating loss, Taft and his team refused to give up.
Taft often went to great lengths to inspire and motivate his players, including putting a live worm in his mouth.
And there's nothing that any of us coaches can do. Once you take the field, the game is yours. But here's what I'm willing to do while you're winning the game. And I had him in my hand. I'd take him out of the loss. I said, I'm willing to keep the worms warm. And I opened my mouth, dropped him in the corner of my mouth. Guys went nuts.
He continued to experience success at Baylor. He led the team to the Bluebonnet Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, then back to the Bluebonnet Bowl and the Copper Bowl. 1992 was Taft's final season as head coach of the Baylor Bears. In his last game at Floyd Casey Stadium, BU defeated Texas, and he walked off the field for the last time with his family. The Bears made it to the Sun Bowl and defeated Arizona 20-15.
Grant Taft retired from coaching athletes and began to coach coaches. In 1994, he became the executive director of the AFCA, where he still works today.
When I took the job as executive director of the American Football Coach Association, one of the reasons I took it was that I would have the opportunity to help coaches become better tomorrow than they are today.
Grant Taft has won many awards, most recently being the Contributions to College Football Award.
And if you make a difference in lives, you're doing things the way you should be. I continually talk to our coaches about being a husband, being a father at home. Coaches have to be surrogate fathers to many, many of their players. In America today, there are 26 million children in America that do not have a father. So coaches and teachers ultimately have to be father figures to children that do not have a father.
Stepping into his last year of directing the AFCA, Coach Grant Taft has truly impacted history because his life has affected thousands of coaches' lives and in turn tens of thousands of players' lives, not only by coaching great football programs, but by pushing them to their highest potential.
More important than his leadership skills and his ability as a coach is the legacy that Grant Taft will leave behind. His influence on the lives of everyone he has met has been immeasurable.